I have reviewed 2015's Inside Out. You can find the link in the description if you're interested in my specific thoughts. If not, although I tend to avoid reducing my feelings on a film to a simple number, I would admittedly grant movie 1 a 9.6 out of 10. It is a top 15 flick of all time for me. I've seen it more times than I can count and adore practically every single detailed moment in it. I have also uploaded a video centered on my thoughts on the 2024 sequel prior to its theatrical release. Again, the link to this video is just a click away in the description. Well, I finally viewed this picture on the big screen, and I am happy to report that I strolled out of that cinema a very satisfied filmgoer, and then some. This movie is gorgeous. It's visually dazzling, as well as very interestingly versatile in regard to animation style. The storytelling is brilliant and creative. It just oozes energy, but you never feel as though you're being rushed along. When the story demands it, we get moments to breathe. Though I did get a bit misty-eyed in a couple instances, this film doesn't quite pack the emotional punch of its predecessor, which never fails to make me sporadically weep like a baby. Speaking of the predecessor, I dig all of the callbacks to it. They're so brief that they draw no attention away from the story at hand, but as a massive admirer of the 2015 picture, I appreciated the collection of fun nods. As the emotions snooze, we catch a glimpse of Joy's bunk, which contains a Bing Bong doll, one of my all-time favorite Pixar characters, mind you. During a chase involving the mine police, one of the officers' caps flies off, at which point we get a quick peek at the My Hat label on the inside of the brim, a reference to the Goofy and Great bit from movie 1, which is kind of Who's on First-esque, solely in regard to the focus of the humor being based in deliberately confusing wordplay. We also get a quick reminder of that annoyingly catchy Triple Dent gum jingle that so often entered the mind of an 11-year-old Riley. The voice acting is superb across the board. Returning players Amy Poehler, Phyllis Smith, and Lewis Black, who portray the characters of joy, sadness, and anger, respectively, are phenomenal and perpetually committed to their roles. Iowa Debris charmed me as Envy, as she did with her portrayal of April O'Neil in last year's brilliant Ninja Turtles animated feature, while newcomer to this series, Kensington Tallman, does a tremendous job as the refreshingly naturalistic teenager Riley. I also had great fun with the Dora the Explorer and Backpack-esque pair of over-the-top interactive characters, Bloofy and Pouchy, as well as the fittingly brief implementation of June Squibb's nostalgia. I recall viewing Toy Story 3 in cinemas at the same age as Riley is in the flick at hand. I claimed to feel ultra-nostalgic afterward due to my lifelong love of its pair of predecessors. I evidently adored the threequel upon first watch at age 13, but now that I'm just about to turn 28, I can confidently state that the rational part of my brain was shooing that, at the time, fraudulent feeling of nostalgia away for a much later date, as is the case in Inside Out 2. This movie is packed with small, relatable tidbits like that, though unquestionably the brightest addition comes in the form of Maya Hawke's anxiety. This fantastic character drives this wonderfully momentous narrative, really. She is ultimately the best kind of antagonist, the kind that doesn't believe themselves to be a villain. Anxiety evidently feels that she's acting on behalf of Riley's betterment, while her actions often come off to us, the viewing audience, as well as our primary trio of emotional protagonists, as sinister and negative, which makes inherent sense. The anxiety attack is pretty beautifully and complexly conveyed. There's this powerful mental storm occurring within Riley. Anxiety is forcing her overwhelmed mind to simultaneously feel as though it is racing a million miles a minute while being completely paralyzed with no sense of control. I love the aftermath of this attack as well. Once Riley begins to calm herself down, she physically feels for the bench around her, as if to help reground herself in reality and rationale. She then breathes deeply as she stops to feel the sunlight on her skin, now that she's managed to slow herself down and regulate all of her emotions. It's just such a visceral experience, with scarcely any dialogue needed to tell the story conveyed through the spectacular visuals. I adore this new sense of self concept, the visual depiction, of course, but primarily its usage in the story. And sense of self is an ideal that is instinctively taken to task when a youngster enters high school, as Riley is here. Andrea Daltzman's musical score is consistently solid, though inferior to that of the original, which is one of my go-tos to this day, written by my favorite composer of all time, Michael Giacchino, though I did appreciate that the main theme that Giacchino composed a decade-ish ago bookends Inside Out 2. And so, after granting the original picture a 9.6 out of 10, I now give the sequel an 8.5 out of 10, following my first watch. It is a really great film. It's so smart, effortlessly so. It's impeccably animated, featuring excellent vocal performances for a collection of now kind of classic Pixar characters. I'm really happy that this film is a worthy successor to what I believe to be a nearly perfect movie.